In the meantime, barely 2 weeks to the governorship elections in Kogi Bayelsa and Imo State, some citizens are concerned about the repeated promise by the Independent National Electoral Commission to adopt technology in enhancing the credibility of the poll. Now, joining me to discuss this further is Richard Aduche Wokocha, an associate professor of public law at the Rivers State University in Port Harcourt. So, one welcome to you, sir. Thanks for joining us on the news.
Thank you very much, and good evening.
Now, could you share your thoughts on the latest verdict delivered by the Supreme Court yesterday and what are its implications for the country?
Well, I think the Supreme Court judgment went the way I expected it to go. I think the issues around the contestations bordered or was supposed to border on the fact that, as the claimant said, they won the election and a wrong result was returned, or votes were suppressed, or votes were added where they were not cast for the candidate for whom they were reported, and things of that nature. But I think too much time and energy was focused on things that were not relevant to proving these issues. So I think I'm not surprised by the outcome of the Supreme Court judgment. Indeed, after the Court of Appeal, as the Election Tribunal had given its judgment, I did point out that this decision was likely going to go the way it has gone now in my discussion with other media.
Now,
so
Professor,
I'm not surprised.
Yeah. Now, Professor Wokocha, INEC, the electoral umpire, has been in the spotlight. We have off-cycle elections on the 11th of November in Imo State, Kogi, and Bayelsa states. And the Supreme Court pronouncement said INEC's failure to keep its promise to upload election results to the IRF portal in real time. Do you think this might affect the confidence of the people? And what lessons could INEC have learned since the general elections, and what improvements are you expecting at the polls for this off-cycle elections on the 11th of November?
As the Supreme Court itself observed, the promise of INEC to use the IRF was a major booster to confidence of the electorate. And indeed, a few people your men interviewed earlier in this news confirmed that their confidence was based on the fact that there was a promise that there was going to be a real-time report of the outcome of contests at the various polling stations. So as the Supreme Court observed, it was a major booster on the part of the electorate. It raised their confidence and encouraged them to participate in the process. The inability of INEC to do that in that crucial election was a major problem, and I think it's going to affect or douse the confidence of a lot of Nigerians in the coming off-cycle election. However, I think, as the court pointed out, the IRF is a booster, a confidence booster. Parties should not lose sight of the fact that they have to have their men on ground and that there has to be direct reporting of what transpired at each station. Really, if you look at the language of the law requires that after results have been announced, that they should be transmitted to the center. The law did not say, it did not even use the language transmit. It said they should be delivered along with other electoral materials to the next point of the process, which is the collation center. So they should have their eyes on the law and ensure that whatever happens, the real thing is reported at the end of the day. If there is any difference, they should be able to have their evidence, and that's part of the lesson from this judgment. They should be able to have their men on ground, which will report on what they saw and heard, what they saw and experienced, and not what they were told by another person at another point. So I think those are some of the takeaways from this judgment. There is no doubt that confidence is going to be a bit low, but I think Nigerians should sit up and lock whatever gaps they have experienced in the last presidential election and ensure that they do what is their civic right to do.
Now, lastly, Professor Wokocha, before I let you go, this judgment has been highly polarized. It's led to a lot of debate in Nigeria's civic space. We even saw social media posts saying all eyes on the judiciary. Now, the integrity of the Nigerian judiciary has been a topic of debate. Could you discuss how this judgment either reinforces or challenges public perceptions on the Nigerian judiciary's independence and effectiveness?
First, there was something peculiar about this election, and that is the massive participation of the young generation and massive deployment of the social media, use of the social media. Now, I think the first trap was set when specific informations were transmitted in such ways that if you are not very familiar with the law, you will believe that that is the language of the law. And so where there is a high expectation and it doesn't go that way, there is bound to be disappointment. And that is what we have experienced in this case. So we must be mindful of that fact that upfront, a lot of impression was created. And the impression was almost created that it's either the way we want it or it won't be any other way. And so when it went the way that is written in the law, definitely you saw the reactions you saw from especially the active group that controls the social media where there is really no regulation. So I think it will create the impression in the minds of those who had gotten away with those prior information that were put forward, to create the impression that all was wrong. But I am afraid, if you look at the law and you read the language of the law, the judgment is consistent with the letters of the law.
Thank you so much for your contribution, Professor Richard Aduche. Wokocha, it was an absolute pleasure speaking with you. Thanks for your insight.
The citizen's duty. Thanks for having me.